All right. We were just discussing how few people probably listen to our podcast and video, but we are back again because we are committed to providing you with knowledge on health and fitness
and a disproportionate amount of effort.
And we tried to text Coach Sam about the blue shirt today. He chose not to. Perfectly honest, I didn't even know I had a blue shirt in here. I just got done working out, and I luckily had an extra coach shirt to put on to sweat through before I actually go put my actual coach shirt back on for the day. So
all we can really ask.
Yeah, right. We call it the burner shirt, right? So you just burn through one before you go back to your fresh one. So anyways, guys, welcome back again. We're here talking with Coach Sam, Coach Millie, and myself. Talking about the why behind the way we do things here at CrossFit Metro East. And today we have a topic that we're discussing is around respecting the workout intent. And so, again, a lot of the things that we do private one-on-one training, we do group training, we do some online training, we do nutrition coaching. But one of the things that we do or that we discuss a lot with our clients, especially in our group classes, because we have a kind of a more of a mass amount of folks working with us, and we do it in our one-on-one sessions all the time because we're talking to a client about what the intent of the workout is, but is really guiding your workout down a path that respects what the goal of that workout is. And when we work in a CrossFit model of what we would call constantly varied functional movement, and we're varying intensities, we're varying loads, we're varying exercise selection. It's important that the workout intent also varies with what our goals are that day. So first of all, Coach Millie, I'm going to throw you first on this one because I feel like sometimes I ask Coach Sam first. I'm going to ask you first today. What is, or describe what exercise intent is? Like in basic, flat out, what are we looking for out of workout intent?
The goal of the day, the purpose, I guess the goal of the day, the purpose of the workout, what we want you or your body, how we want your body to respond, how we want you to feel. If it's a certain heart rate level, if it's a more strength focused day, what do we want out of that strength focus? Do we want a certain number of reps to be able to be accomplished in a small amount of time? Do you have a longer amount of time to get towards a certain weight goal? So it's basically what we want your body to feel that day.
Yeah, the goal of the workout, the goal of the response or the stimulus we're looking for in the body. Anything to add there, Coach?
Yeah, so whenever I'm sitting working on the workouts and thinking about, I'm chasing an adaptation. So every workout, like the intent is what adaptation am I going for? And like the definition I really, really like here that I hold true and for this setting would be a change or the process of change by which an organism or species becomes better suited to its environment. So the intent is what adaptation am I hoping to elicit through the movement selections, rep scheme, time domain, and then the notes that accompany it in terms of like this should challenge you in this way.
Mm-hmm.
All that comes together to make the soup.
Coach is talking about notes. And so one of the things that we do with all of our workouts, and we kind of have two sides to these notes. We have coach notes, and then we have actual kind of public client notes, if you will, around the session. And that's where kind of the meat and potato, you can look at a workout written on a piece of paper or a whiteboard or on a screen or something, and you can see the workout, but it could be actually the exact same workout, but the notes or the parameters of that workout with the same movements or the same rounds, or even sometimes the same reps, intent can change based on what those notes say. And so our clients, one, on the apps that we use, we provide them notes, but then we also provide our coaches on the back end, the notes and the instructions on how they're going to coach that workout. And that's extremely important, like you said, and I appreciate you pulling out the Webster's dictionary there on the deck.
I like that. I really like that definition, and it also keeps me from like it's an objective answer, and so it's not my definition of adaptation.
Yeah,
it's the idea that I just try to stay very grounded to.
Yeah, I like that. So one thing that happens is, so we have workout intent, and so the intent of the workout is X. All right. Well, the intent of the workout, if Coach Sam and Coach Millie and I are all doing the same workout, and we know that the workout intent is one, okay, but we all have different fitness levels, different personal goals, and then different capabilities, whether it's injuries, previous issues, whatever else it may be.
Very different mileage.
Right. So we for us to respect the workout intent, we have to do something that we call scaling. Okay. So coach, what would be scaling?
Scaling is making a modification. Good scaling is modifying an athlete, modifying the base of the workout to fit the individual into the intent. To further your example there, where all three of us doing the same workout, if I'm the coach and I scale and adjust and modify with you guys all three athletes perfectly, and they all apply the exact effort and they apply what I've said or what I'm intending perfectly, this crazy scenario.
Right.
We don't do the exact same things, but we'll be done at the same time.
Yes. Yeah.
To me, like that's like the horizon that we're constantly reaching for.
Yeah.
We're never going to quite get there, but that would be an example of like that. To me, that is perfect scaling and perfect modification.
Yeah.
Is taking the base and adjusting to the individual. It's how we kind of individualize the group experience.
Mhm. Yeah. So, I think if we go back to even like the notes, a lot of times our notes will say, you mentioned like, we'll all finish in the same time, right?
Mhm.
Well, some workouts are time domain, sometimes are task domain. And so that means that, either there's going to be a set amount of time and we're trying to accomplish a certain amount of work, or there's a set amount of work and we're trying to accomplish it in a set amount of time or a specific amount of time or a time range. And so a lot of times in our coaches' notes, we'll give these, hey, we'd like you to finish this workout in about 15 to 18 minutes. And while we'd love to say we're perfect at those time domains, we're not always perfect at them, but we have an inexact science that we try to come to those time
The
domains.
crystal ball did not work on that.
There we go. Yeah. We had one this week that ended up being a little outside those time domains, but it was close. But ultimately, we have a work that we're trying to accomplish or whatever else. And so that's what we mean by the intent there is like, if all three of us are doing the same workout, and coach has said, in this 10-minute AMRAP, you should expect to get 3 to 4 rounds. That means that the way that Millie does her workout, all the parameters, the weight, the rep scheme, the maybe progression, we talked about progressions last week, the progression of a movement that we might be doing fits her enough to get 3 to 4 rounds. And then my weights, my progressions, and my rep schemes would also then get me 3 to 4 rounds. And then Coach Sam, same thing, right? And so that's where we're working at respecting the workout intent. So Coach Millie, so what would be some reasons why we would scale? Give me some reasons of why we would scale for someone.
Sure. A couple top ones would be number one, injury.
Yeah.
If you have an injury that you can't do a certain movement, then we need to adjust that. If you just don't know how to do the movement efficiently enough to meet the intent.
So skill, mechanics,
yeah.
consistency. We talked about that
Right.
last week.
Then we would adjust it so to meet the intent of the workout, so you could still get the movement in and learning to progress as well at the same time. So
Yeah. Okay.
Those are probably the top.
Yeah. Another one would probably be for me, fitness level, new client versus experienced client, right?
Yeah.
Like just capacity.
Right.
The amount of work a newer client can get in 10 minutes versus the amount of work, another client more advanced or more in shape.
Or it's just the smart thing to do to how you progress somebody with
For sure.
training. Like it, what reasons we scale, this is the better version for you.
Yeah. Another thing that I found that I've had to have conversations with, and this, our population, we kind of talked about this, our population ranges anywhere from 12 and 13-year-old kids all the way up to 83, 84 years old. We have a Legends program that's 55 and older, but we also have 55 and older clients that are in our regular group CrossFit classes. Yeah, and they're in their 50s and 60s as well. One of the reasons why I might scale is even if that client has the fitness level, even if that client has no injuries, even if that client has the skills, is sometimes I have the conversation with some of our older population is risk versus reward, right? Like I understand you might be able to do this progression of this movement, but why don't we scale? Because of the risk versus reward, just I never want to outweigh risk, with the reward, right?
So tossing your ability to recover.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Like
sometimes.
what's the biggest difference between a 15-year-old and a 70-year-old? It's their ability is their recovery rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true. Yeah,
I think that's really what it is.
I think that's me at 30 versus 37 recovery rate, right?
30 versus 32.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
And the end goal is functional fitness. So we have to scale so you can still maintain your
right.
function.
Yeah, for sure.
And
And it's the difference between us training people to get tired versus get better. Like we don't value and program to make you more tired.
Yeah,
Sore.
Our goal is to make you better.
yeah,
And so if it's something that's going to take 3 days to recover, or Coach Josh can make that modification and now it's on a more normal track because everything requires recovery. You can't just say, oh, this won't require recovery.
Yeah.
Doing this for an hour is going to require recovery, like everything does.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's just a big piece of that puzzle.
So we have years ago, I was a competitive CrossFit athlete. I know you've done the CrossFit competition scene as well. Coach Millie, I think you've done a few competitions in your day as well. We have probably a small population in our gym that likes to do competitions. Now there's even divisions for scaled competitions versus intermediate versus prescribed, or what we call RX. How do you feel, or what would be your, I think sometimes when someone is a what I would call prescribed competitive athlete in our CrossFit classes, how do we instruct them, or how do we help them understand that maybe scaling is okay, or what does scaling come into play for that competitive athlete?
Honestly, no different than anything else that we've been talking to.
Yeah.
The reality is, if the workouts here, the range is all of this, up or down. That's why one of the things that we've gotten rid of here is we don't prescribe weights. It's very infrequent. I even put a top weight, like
it's got to be a benchmark or something like
random. Or there's like, hey, and normally it's like, I promise you don't need more than this, and that's when I'll put that number in there. But when I sit there, but we sit there, and if we want to take Fran, obviously that's 90, but the reality is we will now scale to competitive athletes. How many CrossFit Games athletes are going to get the true response from 21:59 of 95-pound thrusters and chin over bar pull-ups?
Yeah.
Not a ton of them at this point. You can modify that up, to meet the same intent. So to be honest, for my competitive athletes, I hold them to the intent even harder.
Yeah.
I put a greater demand on meeting that intent. That means choosing, so I put more on their weight selection when I work with them. I put more on their, hey, this has got to be done in 2 sets or less. If you're not that's these are the things that the competitive athlete, when they do that in training, it really makes a big difference, especially in the long run. They get to do the competitive training a lot longer. Whenever their emphasis, especially if they're not about to go to a competition.
Yeah. So I think what you mentioned something that I want to touch on here is that, I actually put in the notes, what about RX plus? So that's always a phrase that's thrown around, the kind of CrossFit group scene is well, the RX plus is this. Now we don't have that at our gym, but we do have competitive athletes that we talk with about scaling up. So you could actually modify scaling. Sometimes people look at scaling as this idea of oh, well, I'm doing an easier version. First of all, scaling does not mean easier. Scaling means selecting the proper modifications for you to meet the exercise intent. And that means, if we could use Coach's example of the CrossFit Games athlete, 95-65 on Fran and chin over bar pull-ups is not probably going to meet the intent for most Games athletes. They need to actually scale the weight up and scale the movement to a chest to bar pull-up or whatnot to actually meet the intent, because they're all crushing the standard, prescribed weights there. So one is scaling up for the competitive athlete. You could do that. My other thing on the competitive athlete is sometimes I have competitive athletes that, because they would say, well, I'm an RX athlete, this is what I do. They've almost put a marker on them, or an identity on them. Is well, because I do these competitions at RX, I can't scale a workout. Well, I would go back to, well, if you're injured, or if you lack skill in something, or if there's a risk to injury here, then it doesn't matter if you scale in training. Sometimes you need to scale in training so that you can go RX in the competition, longevity of training, right?
Yep. The healthiest athletes do become the fittest. I mean, how many CrossFit Games athletes are still truly doing their thing from whenever 2010?
Right. Yeah. Very, very few.
Rich, Annie.
That long pause means we can't take care of
honestly, there's a couple of them they're doing masters and stuff now, but and Rich was always regarded as what made Rich better? His movement quality.
Yeah.
Rich refused to give away his movement quality. He could always breathe. He was the best breather in the group, and he dominated. And this was at a time whenever the guys were truly trying to knock him off.
Yeah, for sure.
And then he just went and it's oh, I want to have kids too. So I'm going to do something that requires less. And then now he's turned the team competition into needing to do more.
Yeah, I guess so. So that's it. Is there ever a time, I just have to kind of play a little devil's advocate here, and I will say I have an answer here, but I'd like to know you guys' answer. is there ever a time that scaling wouldn't be okay?
You are in a competition, you've agreed to a set of rules, and your scaling decision would put you outside of the rules that you've agreed to.
Yeah, flat out game day, right? Like I
Like-
consider it like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
it,
You
right?
can't, you can't.
But what I think that means, and like as we talk about that competitive athletes, means like that means that like you need to be smart in training and be okay with scaling a workout and training on account of injury or on account of a recovery so that you don't get injured, right? Like maybe do 2-3 workouts Monday through Wednesday and you're just more wrecked than what you planned for. Maybe you slept off and you don't even realize you slept wrong, or your nutrition was a little off, or you're dehydrated because it's a little hotter in the gym. Like, don't feel like you can't scale a workout or that you're failing the workout because you scaled or modified. I think every one of us here have scaled workouts. I would say that if you ask any of the rest of our higher level athletes in the gym, they've all scaled workouts, but yet we put this like RX, and that's why we don't use that term in our gym. We don't, because
we prescribe intent, we don't prescribe weights.
Yeah, and that's really big, and that's been something that's actually had to help. We've had to work really hard to change our culture around that, because we've been around for 10 years, right? So we've done RX, we've done RX plus, we've done scale, like, and we really
We've gone
have
through all the phases.
Yeah,
You gotta
we've
strengthen
had-
that every day,
right. And so we've had clients that have been with us that long. And so even to get their brains kind of wrapped around this idea of it's not about scaled or RX, it's about, are you meeting the workout intent? Are you doing the best modifications and programming for you today that lets you come back tomorrow and do it again, right?
And one sidebar gift for anybody that is listening that owns a gym and you guys do use these terms. Probably the best thing we've ever done for our community culture
For sure.
is get rid of those terms, because it didn't matter. And it was misunderstood, and it really, I felt, was a negative to the culture.
Mhm.
And like, so sidebar, you want to operate at your best, I would say move to prescribing intensity, not weights.
Yeah.
Because-
Prescribing, go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, because just by removing those terms, it allows freedom for people who are like, oh, I can do the workout RX, but I get half the reps. I leave feeling miserable because I have like the lowest RX score, whatever
right.
you want. And then I don't want to come back tomorrow because I'm just like, oh, I
Yeah.
suck.
Yeah.
But
Or-
you completely eliminate that, because you do you for where you're at,
Right.
and you get a great workout for you, which is what it's all about anyway. And it doesn't matter.
Well, and let me just tell you, I'm not a participation medal person. Okay. My children know that there are winners and losers in sports. Okay. What I will say is, like, no one's a loser when you show up to the gym every day and get a workout in.
No, because this
Like,
isn't a competition.
It actually is participation.
Right.
There's only winners and losers in a competition.
Right.
setting.
Correct. And this is not a competition
No,
setting.
no.
And when we lost those types of terms, I think we
We also stopped PRing, right?
right.
There,
Yeah.
there was no more PRs at the gym. Everybody's fitness went down.
Yeah.
It was,
Oh, yeah.
it was
We've gotten no one better. We've
yeah.
gotten no one better since. Yeah.
No, I would say that we are much fitter now. Because the other thing is there's also the other side that it can hold you back. Like,
Mhm.
the reality is, if an athlete should be doing 115 on 21-15-9 on thrusters and they're doing 95,
Are they getting better?
no, they're using that RX to hide, in a sense.
Right. Yeah.
And then I don't want to say it like that, but the reality is, if your goal is to be, if you can do Fran and crush it at 115, you're probably a competitive athlete.
Yeah.
And if your goal is to truly compete and progress, that's what you got to do. And it doesn't mean heavier is better. It just means that, again, you have to be good at getting to intent.
Yeah.
So I had one devil's advocate question on,
Yeah.
on the competitive athlete comes to
Sure.
you, and you tell them, hey, you need to modify, and they're like, no, I need to get good at struggling. I need to practice struggling. Like, I've heard this plenty, right? Like you hear it all the time. Like, no, you got to get good at being in the suck, and you got to practice that. You should train. I'm like, there's one particular games athlete that I believe that this is the reason why he never made big progress. He was very popular. He had one particular lift that plagued him, and it still isn't progressed, because his training methodology is always bury yourself.
Yeah.
Always bury yourself. You're never doing enough.
Right.
And this guy, I believe, worked himself out of the CrossFit games a little
Sure.
bit. Now the game's evolved a little bit past him anyway, and that's not anyone's fault, but like that does hold you back. But like, I get that, I've got my own response to that
Mhm.
or analogy. But what do you say to that athlete that thinks that, like, no, I need to be good at struggling. So I got this competition coming up and it's going to be heavy.
Yeah, you got to be good at struggling. You got to be. I think that there's a level of training the uncomfortable, and training mindset.
Mhm.
But though that type of training is also trickled in what I would consider like, those are test and performance days.
Yep.
Those are not the general monotony of training.
It should,
That is
it
not
should
a,
be a normal day.
no, it's not even a weekly thing, probably. It is something that is strategically placed for the competitive athlete to know this is a day that this should suck. And this is training on mental awareness, mental prep, maybe the grind or capacity of my body. This is not something that should be done every day. And is not even something that should be done every other day or every week. It's something that is strategically placed into training, and that the athlete is fully prepared for as well. When you get into CrossFit competitions, and this is just my own experience over the years, is that what makes guys last in CrossFit competition is not the ability to grind, because there will be workouts that you got to grind in,
Mhm.
but then there's a 30-second sprint.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's not a grind, right?
Everybody's trying to grind.
The athletes who sustain, and we saw it this year. Even we saw it this year with the winners and the flipping around of the leaderboard. It's the ones who can consistently perform well across a 2-day competition, a 3-day competition, a 4-day competition, or 5 workouts in a week in a weekend. Like, it's not the person that can just go to the dark place every workout, because that might be 1 or 2 workouts in a competition. And if you trained effectively in volume and capacity and honed in on all your weak points, you will be able to go to the dark place when you need to go to the dark place.
Yeah.
And your dark place doesn't even have to be that bad, because you're in shape for it.
Yeah. And I kind of equated like my analogy, and a lot of people probably have this, especially if you played college football or high school football. It's kind of like the coach that just makes them run endless wind sprints.
Yeah.
At the end of practice, it's like, oh,
I
it's for
have
mental,
coaches like
it's for mental toughness. Is what I did. I turned out. I was like, oh, so what you mean to say is you don't know how to coach mental toughness, so you're just gonna stand there and blow a whistle
Everybody's gonna
and
run.
hope these 15-year-olds figure it out.
Yeah, right.
But that kind of comes back to workout intent.
Yep.
Mhm.
That is another workout that you would program with
Yeah.
that specific intent. Even today, as your coach notes, this is going to be between the ears.
Mhm.
Our newest coach on staff did ask me, she's like, does that mean your heartbeat that you hear it? I was like, no. And he's talking about mindset, but it was good to have that discussion. So even today's workout is a little bit of that peppered in, where you have to dig deep because we have a specific goal.
Yeah, and even for our general athlete, our general clients, like not even just our competitive athletes, like why would mindset be important is because our bodies actually can't decipher between like stresses, right? They just respond. It's stress, and it's fight or flight. And so when we can put a person into a stressful state here, and not that we do it all the time, but when we train stressful states in here and our bodies are able to work through that stress, it actually helps the general population person be able to handle stressors more effectively. When we teach somebody how to bring their breath down after a high heart rate type event in the gym, it actually teaches them breathing tactics to use in a fight or flight situation outside of the gym. And so if you're someone that's like, well, why do I need to be mentally stressed, or why do I need to have it between my brain and all this other stuff, I'm just trying to work out. Like, no, we're trying to train general fitness and general physical skills that are related to outside stressors as well.
Better suited for the environment in which we live. Stress is going nowhere.
Right.
I don't program stress for the sake of it.
No.
But I do try. But when I do program, well, one, everything is stress. Like you said, your body doesn't know if it's a 400-pound barbell, a 200-pound sandbag, or somebody rushing you.
Mm-hmm.
Your body just knows.
Yeah,
it's coming. The stress is coming. So like our goal is to create environments in which we can feel the stress, thrive in the stress, command the stress, so that the line continues to get pushed further. This is, that anchor is why I do like the fire and ice, the sauna and ice.
Yeah.
And ice water. It's a continuation of that same train your stress response.
I'm gonna finish off, and I was hoping Coach would touch on, use a word that he used at the beginning of this, is that he's touching on like, do this to the stress, this to the stress, this to the stress, and adapt to the stress, which you talked about, adaptation, right? And so it all comes back to that. When we're working at workout intent, we're looking for a certain adaptation of the body, but we're also looking to scale and modify and adjust. And this is how we personalize that group experience for our clients, because they all have personal goals, they all have personal issues. And we truly believe that scaling is one of the best ways to get our people the best personalized workout in the group setting.
The kicker is, I hate the language, but proper scaling is the fastest way to get to your goal.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Like we think like, if I want a 400-pound deadlift, I just got to put it on the bar. The fastest way to do it is to yank on it, right?
I'm gonna keep working on that one.
Right. So like, but at the same time, like the reality is your fastest way to a 400-pound deadlift that you're going to be happy with is through proper modification of the workouts all the way up to that 400-pound pull.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks again, guys. I really appreciate this. I think this was a great topic to discuss. If you're one of our clients, I hope you're enjoying this information. I hope this is helping you better understand the why behind the way of what we do here at Metro East. But also, if you're someone that's not, associated with our gym right now, follow us on social media at CF Metro East on Instagram. We put out a ton of free content on there. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got hundreds of YouTube videos, including these broadcasts. We got extra ones that we've done in the past weeks. At Sam Schaefer 1, on social media, at Mrs. Patterson, at the Coach Josh. But you can always ask us questions too, either on social media. You can hit us up via email. If you're interested in learning more about joining our gym or finding out about some of the programs that we do, you go to our website. It'll actually be when we post this here. It's right on this page. You click the Start Now button. You can set up a free consult with us. We'll sit down, we'll talk about your goals, and we'll find out more about what you're looking for and see if there's something that we can do to help. Thanks, guys. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.